I'm 70. I'd rather live alone. Here's why. Turning 70 is a milestone, a point in life that brings clarity about what truly matters. It's a season of reflection where the pace slows and priorities shift. Like many, I've walked through decades of relationships, obligations, and milestones, all while learning who I am and what I value. Now, at this stage of life, I find myself choosing solitude over companionship, independence over cohabitation. It's not because I'm bitter or lonely. It's because I've discovered a peace and freedom in living alone that I've never known before. If you've ever felt the same or wondered what this path looks like, let me share why this choice feels so right for me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. 1. Living alone honors my independence. As I reflect on my journey to 70, one of the most profound truths I've embraced is the sanctity of independence. Independence is not just a practical state, it's a deeply emotional and spiritual experience. For much of my life, independence was about achievement, raising children, building a career, keeping a home, and balancing the countless demands of others. But now, it's become something more profound. It's about reclaiming the essence of who I am and honoring my journey as an individual. Living alone has granted me a sense of liberation that I didn't know I needed. My days are my own, free from compromise or negotiation. I wake up to a rhythm that feels natural to me. I savor the silence of my mornings unhurried without the need to accommodate someone else's schedule. My meals are prepared not with anyone's preferences in mind, but simply as an act of self-care, even the smallest details. What to watch, how to spend an afternoon, where to place a cherished photograph. Become opportunities to connect with myself, to honor my preferences and needs without distraction. This independence goes beyond the physical. It's a statement of my autonomy, a quiet assertion that my life is still mine to live as I choose. For decades, I poured myself into others, often joyfully, but sometimes at the expense of my own desires. I was a partner, a parent, a caregiver, and a friend. Those roles were meaningful, and I embraced them wholeheartedly. Yet, they also meant setting aside parts of myself, my dreams, my comfort, even my peace, for the benefit of others. Now, I am free to nurture the parts of me that were long left unattended. Living alone allows me to revisit hobbies I once loved or explore new ones I never had the time for. I read more, take leisurely walks, tend to my garden, and spend hours simply sitting in quiet reflection. It's not about doing nothing. It's about doing everything that matters to me. There is a profound satisfaction in making decisions without having to consider anyone else's opinion or schedule. It's not selfishness, it's self-respect. For so many years, my choices were shaped by the needs and desires of others. Living alone has taught me to trust myself, to prioritize my well-being without guilt or hesitation. This isn't a rejection of relationships, but an embrace of my own value. Some may see solitude as a sign of loneliness, but I see it as a celebration of freedom. To live alone at this stage of life is to affirm that I am enough as I am. It's not about turning away from others, but about turning toward myself. In the quiet of my home, I've discovered that my independence is not a retreat. It's a return to the essence of who I've always been. There's a beauty in this independence that's hard to articulate but easy to feel. It's in the simplicity of my surroundings, curated by and for me. It's in the quiet evenings when I reflect on the life I've lived and the choices I've made to honor my happiness. It's in the profound sense of peace that comes from knowing I don't have to explain or justify my choices to anyone. Living alone at 70 is not a limitation. It's an empowerment. It's a way of saying, I know who I am, and I will honor that truth. There's no shame in choosing solitude, no sadness in embracing independence. Instead, there is joy, peace, and a quiet strength in knowing that my life is still my own to shape even now. This stage of life has brought me a clarity that I couldn't have understood when I was younger. Living alone doesn't mean I've stopped loving or caring for others. It means I've started loving and caring for myself in a way I never fully allowed before. And that, to me, is the truest form of independence. 2. Solitude brings peace, not loneliness. In my younger years, solitude was something I avoided, a space that felt too empty and quiet, as though the silence itself might overwhelm me. Back then, the presence of others filled the hours and gave structure to my days. But now, at 70, I see solitude through a different lens, no longer as a void to be filled, but as a sanctuary of peace, a quiet gift I treasure more deeply with each passing year. Living alone has shown me that solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is a longing for connection, a heaviness that comes from feeling unseen or forgotten. Solitude, on the other hand, is a fullness, a space where I can breathe, reflect, and simply be. In solitude, I've discovered the beauty of my own company, the calm of a life lived without unnecessary noise or distraction. There's a unique peace in starting the day alone, with nothing but the sound of the world waking up around me. I sit by the window with my coffee, feeling the warmth of the mug in my hands and watching as the sunlight spills across the room. There's no rush, no obligation to engage in conversation or meet anyone's expectations. It's just me, the moment, and a profound sense of contentment. In solitude, I've learned to savor the small joys that often go unnoticed in a busier, noisier life. The way the breeze carries the scent of the garden through an open window, the sound of leaves crunching underfoot on a morning walk, the comforting crackle of a fire on a quiet evening. These moments are simple, yet they hold a richness that fills my heart. They remind me that life doesn't have to be loud or crowded to be meaningful. This time alone also offers space for reflection, a chance to revisit the memories that have shaped me. I find myself looking back on my life not with regret, but with gratitude for the triumphs that brought joy, the challenges that taught resilience, and even the heartbreaks that deepened my understanding of love and loss. Solitude gives me the clarity to see these moments for what they are, the threads that have woven the story of my life. Of course, there are moments when I miss the company of others. I think of friends and loved ones who have drifted away, and I feel a pang of nostalgia for the laughter and conversations we once shared. But even in those moments, I find comfort in knowing that their presence in my life, however brief, was meaningful. Solitude doesn't erase those connections. It allows me to cherish them more deeply. Living alone has also helped me see the value of the relationships I still hold close. When I do spend time with family or friends, it feels more intentional, more present. There's no rush, no sense of obligation, just the simple joy of being together. Those moments are richer now because they are a choice, not a necessity. They remind me that solitude doesn't mean shutting the world out. It means engaging with it on my own terms. The peace of solitude has become a cornerstone of my well-being. It's a space where I can recharge, reflect, and connect with myself in ways I never could when life was busier and more demanding. In this quiet, I've learned to appreciate my own thoughts, to trust my instincts, and to find comfort in the person I've become. At 70, solitude is not a sign of loneliness. It's a celebration of freedom. It's the ability to stand in the quiet of my own home and feel whole, complete, and content. It's a reminder that I don't need to fill every moment with activity or every space with people to live a meaningful life. Solitude has taught me that peace isn't something you find in others. It's something you nurture within yourself. And in this stage of life, that peace is the greatest gift I could ask for. 3. Relationships change, and that's okay. At 70, one of the most profound lessons I've learned is that relationships are not static. They shift and evolve over time, often in ways that surprise us. In my younger years, relationships felt like the foundation of everything. I built my days around the people I loved: friends, family, colleagues, and neighbors. I celebrated their triumphs, comforted their losses, and worked hard to maintain connections. But as the years passed, I began to see the inevitability of change, the way time quietly alters the bonds we hold dear. Some relationships have grown deeper, strengthened by shared experiences and mutual understanding. These connections are my treasures, the ones that anchor me through life's ebbs and flows. But others have faded, not with bitterness or conflict, but with the natural passage of time. People move away, priorities shift, and life pulls us in different directions. For a long time, I resisted this truth, taking it personally when a friendship faded or a family member became distant. I wondered what I had done wrong, what I could have done differently to keep them close. Now, I understand that not every relationship is meant to last forever. Some people come into our lives for a season, their presence brief but meaningful. They leave us with memories, lessons, and sometimes heartache, but always with a mark on the story of who we are. Accepting this truth has brought me peace. It doesn't mean I care any less about the people who have drifted away. It simply means I've learned to let go with grace and gratitude for the time we shared. Living alone has given me the clarity to prioritize the relationships that truly matter. In the quiet of my own space, I've reflected on who fills my heart with joy and who leaves it feeling heavy. I've come to cherish the people who show up, not out of obligation, but out of genuine love and care. These are the relationships I pour my energy into, knowing that they are reciprocal, rooted in kindness and respect. At the same time, I've also learned the importance of boundaries. In the past, I often gave more than I received, convinced that being a good friend or family member meant always saying yes, always being available. But that kind of endless giving is exhausting, and it left me feeling depleted. Now, I protect my time and energy, choosing carefully where to invest my love. Relationships, I've discovered, should enrich our lives, not drain them. Looking back, I see that the relationships that have remained are the ones that truly matter. They don't demand constant attention or effort. They thrive on a foundation of mutual understanding. These are the connections that feel like home, the ones that remind me I'm not alone even when I'm physically by myself. Living alone hasn't distanced me from others. It's deepened my appreciation for the people who bring light into my life. 4. My home reflects who I am. There's a unique joy in living alone, a freedom that comes from creating a space that's entirely your own. Over the years, I've lived in homes filled with the laughter of children, the warmth of family dinners, and the chaos of everyday life. Those years were beautiful, but they were also shared. My home was a reflection of everyone's needs, everyone's tastes, everyone's lives. Now, at 70, my home is mine alone, and it has become a canvas for my soul. Every corner of my home tells a story about who I am and what I value. The books on my shelves are carefully chosen, each one a companion to a quiet afternoon. The photos on my walls capture moments of joy, love, and accomplishment, reminders of a life well lived. My furniture is arranged just the way I like it, not to accommodate others, but to create a space that feels comfortable and peaceful to me. There's something deeply fulfilling about walking into a room and knowing it was designed for no one but yourself. It's a reflection of my tastes, my memories, my dreams. In a world that often demands so much of us, my home has become my sanctuary, a place where I can retreat and recharge. Living alone has also allowed me to embrace simplicity. Without the need to consider others' preferences, I've stripped away the clutter and created a space that feels calm and intentional. Every item I keep has a purpose, whether it's practical or sentimental. There's no pressure to keep up appearances or to impress anyone else. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing that my home is a reflection of my heart. This space has become more than just a physical refuge. It's a symbol of my independence and my ability to create a life that feels authentic to me. When I sit in my favorite chair with a cup of tea, listening to the soft hum of the world outside, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. This is my space, my life, my moment to savor. Creating a home that reflects who I am has also taught me to appreciate the beauty of the present. In this space, I'm reminded that life doesn't have to be grand or busy to be meaningful. It's in the small, quiet moments, the way the sunlight streams through the window in the morning, the way the house feels after a deep clean, the comfort of familiar surroundings, that I find the greatest joy. Living alone doesn't mean being isolated. It means being intentional. My home is a place where I can invite loved ones when I choose, but it's also a place where I can find solace in my own company. It's a balance that feels just right for this stage of life. At 70, my home is more than just a place to live. It's a reflection of who I've become. It's a space where I can honor my past, embrace my present, and dream about my future. In its quiet simplicity, it reminds me every day that I am enough, just as I am. 5. Freedom from obligations. One of the greatest gifts I've discovered in living alone at 70 is the freedom to live without unnecessary obligations. For most of my life, I carried the weight of countless responsibilities, some self-imposed, others born from love and duty. I gave my time, energy, and care to family, friends, and work. I was the reliable one, always saying yes, always showing up, always putting others first. But over the years, I began to feel the quiet exhaustion of a life spent meeting everyone else's needs but my own. Now, in this chapter of life, I've embraced the power of no. Living alone has taught me that my time and energy are precious, and it's okay, necessary even, to protect them. I no longer feel obligated to accept every invitation, attend every event, or maintain every relationship out of guilt or habit. Instead, I choose what aligns with my values and what brings me peace. This doesn't mean I've stopped caring about others. It means I've learned to care for myself with the same devotion I once reserved for everyone else. There's a profound sense of liberation in this. Without the constant pull of obligations, I have the freedom to structure my days in a way that feels right for me. I wake up when I want to, linger over my morning coffee without a schedule to rush off to, and spend my afternoons in ways that nurture my soul. Sometimes that means a long walk through the park. Other times, it's as simple as sitting by the window and letting the world pass by. The absence of obligations isn't a void. It's a space for intentional living. Living without unnecessary obligations has also deepened the connections I do choose to maintain. When I spend time with someone now, it's because I genuinely want to, not because I feel compelled to. This makes those moments richer, more meaningful. I no longer carry the resentment that comes from feeling stretched too thin or overburdened by commitments. Instead, I feel gratitude for the freedom to give my time and energy where it truly matters. This freedom doesn't come without reflection. There are moments when I think back on all the times I said yes when I wanted to say no, all the times I sacrificed my own needs for the sake of others. But instead of regret, I feel a sense of clarity. Those years were necessary. They taught me the importance of giving, of showing up for the people I love. But they also taught me the limits of my own capacity and the cost of ignoring those limits. At 70, freedom from obligations isn't just about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to myself. It's about recognizing that I've earned the right to live my life on my terms without guilt or apology. It's about creating space for the things that bring me joy and letting go of the things that don't. In this freedom, I've found a peace that feels both powerful and tender, a quiet affirmation that my time is mine to cherish. 6. Avoiding people isn't about bitterness. It's about peace. When I tell people that I avoid others more often now, they sometimes misunderstand. They assume I've grown bitter or withdrawn, that my trust in humanity has waned after years of disappointments. But the truth is far more gentle. Avoiding people isn't about bitterness. It's about peace. Over the years, I've learned that not every relationship is meant to endure, and not every connection is worth the energy it takes to maintain. In my younger days, I cast a wide net, striving to be everything to everyone. I wanted to be liked, to be needed, to be the person people could count on, and for a long time that gave me purpose and fulfillment. But it also left me vulnerable to the kind of relationships that take more than they give. Living alone has given me the space to reflect on those experiences and to draw clearer boundaries. I no longer feel the need to keep toxic relationships alive or to engage with people who bring negativity into my life. I avoid those who thrive on drama, those who make everything about themselves, and those who take my kindness for granted. This isn't an act of rejection, it's an act of self-preservation. There's a profound peace in choosing solitude over superficial connections. I've traded the noise of crowded rooms and shallow conversations for the quiet of my own thoughts. In this quiet, I've found clarity about what truly matters. I've come to see that it's not the number of people in your life that brings happiness. It's the quality of the relationships you choose to nurture. Avoiding people also means avoiding situations that make me feel less than who I truly am. I no longer put myself in environments where I feel overlooked, unappreciated, or out of place. Instead, I focus on creating spaces that reflect my values and spending time with the few people who uplift and inspire me. These are the relationships that feel like home, the ones that remind me of my worth and bring light into my life. This doesn't mean I've shut myself off completely. I still cherish the connections that matter, the friends and family who have stood the test of time, who show up with love and sincerity. These relationships are sacred to me, and I nurture them with all the care I have to give. But my circle is smaller now, and that's by design. A smaller circle feels more intimate, more authentic. It allows me to give my best to the people who truly matter without feeling stretched or drained. At 70, avoiding people isn't about rejecting the world. It's about embracing my own. It's about protecting the peace I've worked hard to find and living in a way that feels true to who I am. It's about recognizing that my energy is finite and choosing to spend it in ways that bring me joy and fulfillment. In this choice, I've found a freedom and a happiness that I never could have imagined when I was younger. So, no, avoiding people isn't about bitterness. It's about peace. It's about choosing what feels right for me without guilt or explanation. It's about living with intention, protecting my well-being, and finding joy in the quiet moments of solitude. And for me, that's more than enough. 7. Embracing this chapter. As I sit here reflecting on this chapter of my life, I realize that it is not a season of endings, but one of beginnings. At 70, I've stopped chasing the things that don't matter and started savoring the things that do. This chapter is quieter, simpler, and slower, but it is no less meaningful than the ones that came before. In many ways, it feels like the most authentic part of my journey. When I was younger, life was a race, a constant push to do more, achieve more, and be more. There was always something to strive for, a goal to reach, a milestone to celebrate. That urgency kept me moving forward, but it also left me breathless, always looking ahead and rarely appreciating what was right in front of me. Now that restlessness has faded, I no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone, including myself. Instead of striving, I find myself savoring. The small, everyday moments bring me a kind of joy that I never fully appreciated before. The sunlight streaming through the window in the morning, the laughter of my grandchildren when they visit, the warmth of a favorite sweater on a chilly evening. These are the moments that anchor me, that remind me of what truly matters. This chapter is also about reflection. At 70, I look back on the life I've lived, not with regret, but with gratitude. There were mistakes, of course, and moments of heartbreak that shaped me in ways I didn't understand at the time. But there were also triumphs, joys, and experiences that filled my life with meaning. Each moment, whether painful or beautiful, wove the tapestry of who I am today. But this chapter isn't just about looking back. It's about looking forward, too. There's a quiet excitement in knowing that I still have time to create, to learn, to grow. I may move a little slower these days, but my spirit is as curious and hopeful as ever. I've learned to embrace the possibilities that lie ahead, no matter how small they may seem. It's a time to focus on what brings me joy, whether that's tending to my garden, exploring a new hobby, or simply sitting in stillness and letting the world come to me. Perhaps the most beautiful part of this chapter is the freedom it brings. I no longer feel bound by the expectations of others or the pressures I once placed on myself. I've let go of the need to please, the need to prove, the need to rush. Instead, I've embraced the idea that simply being is enough. This freedom has allowed me to say no to the things that drain me and yes to the things that fill me with peace and purpose. This stage of life has also taught me the power of gratitude. Gratitude for the life I've lived, the people I've loved, and the lessons I've learned. Gratitude for the strength that has carried me through difficult times and the joy that has illuminated the good ones. Gratitude for the simple fact that I am still here, with more time to live, more memories to make, and more opportunities to grow. Embracing this chapter doesn't mean ignoring the challenges that come with aging. There are moments of loneliness, of wondering what comes next, of missing the people and places that once filled my life. But even in those moments, there is a quiet strength, a reminder that I have made it this far and that I have everything I need within me to keep going. At 70, life feels less like a race and more like a journey where the destination matters far less than the moments along the way. This chapter is about slowing down, savoring the beauty around me, and living with intention. It's about finding joy in simplicity, strength in solitude, and fulfillment in authenticity. This is my time to live unapologetically, to embrace who I am, and to honor the life I've built. And that, to me, is the greatest gift of all. Closing thoughts. As I stand in this chapter of life, I've learned that the truest peace comes from living authentically, cherishing what matters most, and letting go of what no longer serves me. At 70, I no longer feel the need to chase approval or keep up with expectations. Instead, I find joy in the simple things: a quiet morning, a heartfelt conversation, or the warmth of my own company. This stage of life isn't about endings, but beginnings. It's about embracing who I am, celebrating the journey that brought me here, and living each day with intention and gratitude. If there's one thing I've discovered, it's that the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the freedom to live fully and unapologetically, savoring the beauty of every moment we're given. Here's to finding peace, joy, and meaning in whatever way feels right for you. This is our time. Let's make it ours. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching. And here's to living life on your own terms.